On this channel, we document the greatest lie of our generation, the greatest hoax of our lifetime, the myth of black victimization, the lie of how black people are relentless victims of relentless white racism all the time, everywhere. That explains everything, especially why cops are always picking on black people for no reason whatsoever. You know, there's got to be some truth in that lie, because why else would so many black people try to kill cops? Sometimes successfully. In these two videos, thankfully not. So let's look at the truth of the black victimization story, the truth of the cops picking on black people for no reason story. And then let's go into some fairy tales black parents tell their children in order to perpetuate this hoax.
This is Frederick, and he's coming up to that opening. This is graphic for those watching at home.
49-31, shots fired, shots fired!
This is a slowed down version. Again, starting from the alleyway. In this slowed down version, you can see the gun in the suspect's right hand. And at this point, the suspect's going to turn and begin to raise his weapon towards the officer. The officer fires several rounds, striking the suspect in his front body area. Audio is muted on this part because it was slowed down. And just as a reminder for those of you, as you understand more about the body cameras, there's a 30-second buffer that goes back before the sound activates. This was a relatively quick event that took place out there, so you didn't have a lot of sound leading up to the actual event itself.
A Buffalo man who tried to shoot and kill a Buffalo police officer last summer will spend the next 19 years in prison. Andre Fuller pleaded guilty to attempted murder and criminal possession of a weapon last fall. He was sentenced in Erie County Court today. News 4's Katie Alexander has more on that.
Andre Fuller was facing up to 20 years in prison under the plea agreement that was reached in November, and both the district attorney's office and the officer that Fuller tried to shoot were pushing hard for the maximum sentence.
That night affected me forever. Not 15 years, not 20 years, not 60 years. The emotional impact it's had on my family is unacceptable.
The night of June 15th, after running away from the scene of a robbery on Dote Street, Andre Fuller pressed his loaded handgun against Officer Tony Fanara's chest and pulled the trigger. The gun did not fire. Two other officers, who were later honored for their bravery, wrestled the gun away.
I think everybody is grateful. I'm not so sure about you, but everybody is grateful that whatever the condition of the gun, that it didn't go off.
During today's sentencing, there were questions about why the gun did not work. Fuller has said the safety was on, but the prosecution says that's not true.
This firearm, if you have something up against it point blank and you pull the trigger, it will not fire.
The safety was on, and but for the safety not being on, shots would have been fired. By the grace of God, no one was injured, Your Honor, and I think I ask that you don't sentence them in a fashion that if someone was injured.
Fuller's attorney asked the court for empathy in sentencing, blaming all of the drugs in his client's system and his difficult childhood for his actions that day. But Judge Thomas Franzak noted Fuller has an antisocial personality disorder, and he doubted whether he was sorry for what he did.
If this was something that you really felt bad about or regretted, I would get that vibe from you, and I really don't.
This defendant now is going to go away to jail for a long time now for an incident that is, in my opinion, is unconscionable.
We actually have a line that we do at our house. We practice this thing. What is it?
I'm Ariel Sky Williams. I'm 8 years old. I'm unarmed and I have nothing that will hurt you.
It's just kind of a thing we practice at our house. There are great police officers out there. There's also some police officers who are not so good.
And my fear is that you run across one of those bad ones.
For some reason, people of color have always been a target by the police.
Before they became a policeman, they were a person. And that person took all their ideas and all their thoughts and all their prejudice into their job.
Why would a police officer assume that you did something bad?
Maybe because of my skin color.
I remember being put in handcuffs for something that had nothing to do with me. I was literally walking in the mall. Cops slammed me on the ground, busted my lip, chipped my tooth. That actually made me really mad.
How about the time they pulled us over with me in the car and arrested me and left all of you guys sitting in the car and nobody knew how to drive on the side of the road because the bumper on the car was kind of hanging off?
No.
You know we live in Puyallup. There's people that don't even have a bumper on their car.
My rear brake light wasn't working, and I got to my destination and they were working.
I was about your age, actually. They grabbed me.
Why?
I didn't know at the time. They just grabbed me. They threw me onto the police car.
I got tased that time. That time they tased me because they said I wasn't complying.
Ariel, are you okay?
What's wrong, baby? I'm okay, I'm alive, all right? Every day I get to see you, I get to do this, right? All right, come on, let's calm down, let's finish this, all right? You good? Hey, you making me cry. Come on.
You have to be careful when you're out there in this world because this world's not going to always be honest or fair to you. I know, Sean, you got a little bit lighter than the rest of them, so it's a possibility you won't get stopped.
Sound like you just pulled him over.
Okay. If you're driving, cop pulls you over.
Police gets out the car, comes to the window. What would you do?
License and registration, please, ma'am.
Why do you think I pulled you over?
I don't know, tell me.
When a police officer says something to you, you're black. You can't be looking at them saying, oh, I don't know, why don't you tell me?
Well, I mean,
that right there is giving them the license to pull you out of your car and physically harm you because it will be done.
Don't get upset, don't get sassy. Why did you pull me over? You don't have, just follow instructions and stay calm.
Okay.
Do you think just being a police officer and pulling you over, regardless of if you feel you've done something or not, they should get your respect?
That's a tricky question.
The answer is yes.
Yes. If you got to go to your wallet to get your ID, say, can I go reach in my back pocket to get my ID out?
You could do what I do, and I show them my hands, so when they're walking up, they see I don't have anything in my hands.
I'm Ariel Sky Williams, and I have nothing that will harm you or hurt you.
And what's the next place you put your hands when you're driving or on the steering wheel with your hands out?
If at all possible, turn your phone on.
And call someone and put it on speaker.
But whatever you're doing, I want you to say what you're doing before you do it.
You don't write any statements.
Well, you have to write a statement.
You don't have to write anything. You're a minor. I'm responsible for you. No one can tell you anything else.
If it tells you to be quiet, be quiet. Do everything that you can to get back to me. I see it weighing on you, and I don't want it to weigh on you.
I'm just worried about Donovan. I'm worried about him now.
Who are you guys talking about?
My nephew and her cousin.
I don't want him to be shot. I don't want him to go to jail.
You guys, if you could say anything to police, what would you say?
Learn about people, learn about their problems.
Take some diversity training. I mean, it should be like at this point, like a monthly requirement.
You know, there's really nothing at this point that they could do that would make me feel any safer with them without them just point blank, clearing them all out and starting all over from scratch.
So don't always assume that all of them are bad.
But all you see on the news and in newspapers, and it keeps happening. It's just in a different way. It's like how people are like, you should forgive so-and-so, but they keep doing it to me. I forgave them, but they keep doing it to me. It gets harder and harder to forgive them.
Wow.
You know, if you watch this channel for any period of time, after a while you see so many lies, you see so much deceit surrounding this whole idea of black violence and black mob violence, black on white crime, black on Asian, black on young, black on old, black on gay, black on straight, black on whatever, so wildly out of proportion. I mean, we kind of get to be a connoisseur of deceit after a while. My own, you know, I think, you know, different times we have different lies, smaller lies that support the big lie of black victimization. The one lie I keep coming back to came from, well, you hear it a lot. You hear it from members of the Black Caucus in Congress. You hear it from college teachers. You hear it from activists. You hear it from lots and lots of political people, private and in public. And that is, if you took all the cops out of black neighborhoods and put them in white neighborhoods, you'd get the same kind of crime and you'd get the same kind of activity. And that is proof positive to them that white police are over-policing the black neighborhoods. That's a fairy tale. That's a fairy tale that is as widely believed all over the country. It's widely accepted as fact. I mean, that's how deep we are into this denial, deceit, and delusion. And that's why it's so easy when you expose that tissue thin concoction of deceit. That's why it's so easy to make the black kids angry.